Veni, Vini, Amari.
We came, we saw, we loved.
Welcome to the Partnership Vision Podcast,
where we discuss how to have a relationship full of unity, trust, fun, and fulfillment.
We'll be sharing the rewards of preparing yourself for your best partner and being your best for them.
I like everything about you. Everything about you.
Lately especially, I've been able to flip that switch by choice. So for example, we've learned that when we have a really terrible night's sleep and are extremely groggy in the morning, lacking energy and motivation, that it actually helps to push yourself out of bed and move with a purpose regardless of how bad you feel. Again, choosing your mindset over feelings. So on those days especially, as well as for our schedule time checkups and budgeting, we focus a lot on keeping our schedule efficient. We'll gamify it, and that's what we call it. We gamify it. We make it fun. So how I do it is that Snapchat has a timestamp sticker. And what I'll do is take a picture of the thing I'm starting, put a timestamp on it, save it, see how fast I can get it done, trying to beat my record time. Again, it's a game. And take a finished picture of it with its timestamp. At the end of the day, what I'll do is I'll take notes down, tallying and adding things up to see how long they took and if it can be improved. That right there ensures that you're moving with a purpose, even if you can't come up with something yourself. You don't have to have something specific that's, driving is like, oh, well, blah, 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 I got to get this done. I have to, I have to get this done. No, let's see how fast I can do it this morning, in what ways can I improve my quality of life right now? If nothing else, go back to that core principle that we should all kind of focus on is like, how can I improve my current living situation or my current event that's going on? Take care of what you're put in charge of right now and see just how good you can make it. Put your heart into it, choose the right mindset, and steward it wisely. And then before you know it, you're moving on to an upgrade. And from those notes on gamifying things, I put together a daily chart to make it easier for things to be taken care of as efficiently and smoothly as possible. So that way there's no guessing, there's no, well, I've got to look at this and then draw an arrow, look over here, or there's no distractions. It's all laid out, time-stamped of what time we should get it done. And then as we're moving throughout the day, we just kind of keep check of where we're at on the chart. And you can't live, based on time alone all the time, but it's a tool to get you started at the very least. That's a way to get you mindful about, okay, how am I managing my time? How can I make things better? How can I get more done more easily? And how can I make it more fun? Because we should have fun, but just because we're adults now doesn't mean that, oh, well, fun's overrated. We can't have fun because now we're 30 and up, or we're out of our teens. That doesn't matter. And that fact, age is a number. You're only as old as you make yourself.
And it's crazy how we've found there is such a major difference between the days that we just, all right, so these are the things we're going to do, and just kind of, all right, so we kind of know how time flows on the day and then we're just going to do this versus, all right, let's gamify this. Let's see how fast we can get this done. See how fast we get that done. We always find that we get things done way more quickly. And we don't get nickel and dimed by little things, little delays, kind of lingering over certain situations, unintentional procrastinations. That there's something about that focus of, let me see how fast I can do this. Not the pressured, oh my goodness, I got to try to get this done. Anxiety, you make mistakes and things get messed up. But when you're being focused and intentional about trying to get something done with speed, then you find that you don't get distracted and you don't slow down, but you everything goes faster. It really is the mindset. It really is just the different attitude, not even so much that you're moving so much more quickly, but it's the things that you don't even realize that you start thinking about something else. You have something going on in your mind, you're distracted. And so you don't put the same amount of attention, and you don't put the same amount of just, it's like the sayings, go slow and steady wins the race. The real meaning behind that slow and steady isn't necessarily that you have to move slow. It's the idea that you're deliberate, that you are not letting yourself be distracted by, here's a shiny thing over here, here's something over there, I think I'll take a nap, just everything's just kind of all over the place, and you let arrogance and you let other things off rail you. Instead, you stay on track. Like, I'm going to get this thing done. I'm going to get that thing done. I'm going to get that thing done. And when you're just in that kind of mode, you create a momentum, and you create this sense of, I can do things. I can make things happen. I can accomplish things around me. It's very effective. It's a very powerful method, and you always want to accompany, you don't want to let it turn into an anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm not going fast enough. I know I can do this in 15 minutes and it's taken me an hour. You've got to look out for letting things like this turn into a negative, but use the tool with the right mindset, and you'll be surprised about how fast you can actually get through the, routines to get on to different things in your day.
Exactly. Don't become Lucy on the assembly line.
I love Lucy reference.
And exactly. It's kind of like how when I was first trying to lose weight and get back down to where I was weight-wise and health-wise before my captor took me, I used my Fitness Pal. It's a free app. If you want an easier way to keep track of what you're eating, I highly suggest it. So there's a free plug for the app. But it keeps you accountable. Like he was saying, is like, you've got to be mindful and use discipline in what you're doing while you and turn that into a fun thing. Well, when you're having to log what you eat, you're less likely to eat bad things because you're going to have to record it. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to the app. And with gamifying, adding things in that aren't supposed to be there really, for the most part, does not even come up. But even if they do, you're going to have to put that in your Snapchat timestamps. So do you really want to put a black dot on the day, or do you want to keep moving forward? And I say a black dot in a more comical fashion. It's like you don't become anxious over it. You don't make it into a stressor. You're supposed to be gamifying, not stressifying.
So it's all about applying mindset, applying positivity into your being goal-oriented, into your going after what it is you're wanting to accomplish in the day. And so it's that combination. We use these structures, we use these tools with a positive attitude. We use it with that focus. Mindfulness can be your enemy if it isn't accompanied with the right kind of attitude, if it isn't accompanied with a positive emotional apparatus to take into it. So keep that in mind, and be mindful, but be mindful on the right things. Be mindful with the right point of view.
Stay focused on the right things. And that really goes into one of our other disciplines, is that we celebrate even what seems to be a quote-unquote little victory. Because just like reps in a workout, again, fitness and health, I'm probably speaking to somebody right now, I don't even know it. Just like reps in a workout, those victories held consistently enough will form good habits that will in turn increase your quality of life. So choose to celebrate those successful action steps. Choose to see the real progress and reap the benefits of the dedication you sow. It's your mindset at work. Choosing positivity and mindfulness of what you've achieved is imperative. And whatever you've accomplished today is better than where you were yesterday. Keep gamifying life. It can be fun and rewarding if you make choices to align yourself in your mindset with positivity, goals, discipline, and dedication. Keep reminding yourself of your whys not your growing pains.
So now, in a bit of a change of format here, I actually wrote some of the notes on this one too. Usually Brandi writes the notes and I bring my thoughts, and we've usually talked about it and brainstormed about it ahead of time, but she's a lot of times the note taker for our podcast, and this time I wrote some of the notes too. So now we're starting into some of my notes and what I put down. So I will be reading and Brandi will be responding. A little creativity exercise here. Doing things different, being spontaneous.
Yes. Gamifying. Win.
Absolutely. So get your thinking cap on.
I'ma try.
Be prepared to respond with
Fashioning the buckles.
witty banter and yes.
Pop culture references.
Exactly. There we go. So we have learned that how we approach even a daily task with our attitude determines how easy or how taxing that activity can be on us physically and emotionally. When we have a bad attitude, it's usually either because we have begun with negative feelings already, or we have started to reinforce a bad narrative by thinking or saying things that drive us into emotions like anger, frustration, anxiety, disappointment, and despair.
I mean, just like you were saying earlier, I've experienced this myself, is when things add up especially, everything seems bleak and dark and pointless, hopeless. Why should I bother? Because it's already in the toilet. But in reality, it's not as bad as you think. And it is because you've had multiple things stacked up on you. And you're just having to figure out how to process through it. And again, it's growing pains. And you're having to face stress and issues. And maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe you need to actually eat because hangry is real, let me tell you. A lot of factors may not be in your court. But if you keep your peace and you stay calm, you choose peace. That's a better way of putting it. You choose peace, and you work from there outward. Your responses will be that much more fitting and positive. And when you don't feel like the world's closing in on you and it's apocalyptic and it's life or death, you can be a light in the darkness instead of being that wet blanket, instead of being miserable, because nobody really wants to be miserable. I mean, you might have abuse in your past, and you might feel like I was telling you earlier, that you're just supposed to be unhappy and that nobody really wants you happy, but really that's just a mind construct that needs to be destroyed. And it is possible, and it's possible with God. You need God. He'll make your path straight as long as you trust Him. So you need to choose the high road. And even if it's really difficult and you're not feeling it, trust me, you're not always going to feel it. Choose what you know is right in that situation.
And the main problem that we have to face in overcoming our tendency to give in to having a bad attitude about certain things in life is that we have to resist giving in to our feelings that urge us to think, say, and do things with a body language or in a tone that leans deeper into the same negative emotions. At the end of the day, when we have a bad attitude about something, 100% of the time it is because we feel like having a bad attitude and not because it is going to help us handle the situation in a meaningful and fulfilling way.
Sometimes it feels good to be bad. And I say that again in a funny way, but sometimes we are sadistic on ourselves, and we think putting ourselves in more pain is somehow empowering or something, even though it's lowering us that much more down into the darkness on a rickety bridge.
It's perplexing.
Very.
And it's a weird dichotomy that is like, I'm miserable, and so if I just make myself more miserable, it's going to somehow make it better? I'm going to somehow get over it?
It's kind of like a camping situation that I ran across one time, is that there was a couple that decided to camp right next to where my group and I were camping, and they thought they could put out the fire by putting more lighter fluid on it. I figured, if I can get it wet enough, it'll go out. But no, it was like, all of a sudden we're not even looking at the fire, and everything around us is glowing red hot, and we're not even on top of them. So, yeah, adding lighter fluid to your already roaring fire is not going to dampen it and make it go out. It's not going to happen.
That's a great analogy. And a bad attitude about anything is ultimately self-sabotage, because it's 1, unproductive, 2, it wastes energy, 3, it blocks creativity, 4, it leaves you feeling worse every time, 5, it is discouraging and disempowering, and 6, it will make anything you're doing harder, if not impossible.
Exactly. But with God, we do the difficult and He does the impossible. And a lot of the times we get that mixed around. And we feel like that we're supposed to hold ourselves to an impossible standard, or everything's impossible. And that's because we're trying to do everything in our own power. And our own power is not always good enough. And it shouldn't always be good enough, or any time really, because doing it with God is going to make everything turn out the way it's supposed to be. And a lot of trouble and upset and heartache, aggravation, time technically wasted, but He can redeem time. A lot of things wouldn't have to happen if we just involved Him in everything we do.
A lot of situations are only hard because we make them hard.
And we shouldn't be our own worst enemy. And there's songs about that. But yeah, I mean, be your best friend. I mean, it sounds kind of funny.
Kind of cliche.
Kind of cliche, but
true.
It is true. What would you want your friend to do for you in a given situation? Would you want them to make you feel miserable?
You know what? That's actually really good, because we were trying to remember some of the things that I used to tell Brandi back when she was having to really just first get out of under that captor and be able to think for herself. And that was one of those things that I would tell her when she would be too hard on herself and she would, be tearing herself apart, being self-critical and all of that. I'd get fired up. I'd get kind of mad, but I wouldn't direct it in a way that was hurtful towards her. I would say, Brandi, what if the roles were reversed and this was me in this situation, or this was somebody else that you really cared about and this is how they were treating themselves? Or what if you saw somebody treating another person the way you are treating yourself right now, saying these kinds of things, thinking these kinds of things? You'd protect them. You'd do something about it. You wouldn't let them get away with it. So why are you doing this to yourself? And why are you letting this other person drive you to do this to yourself? Like, if you would be fair to someone else, you need to be fair to yourself too. You need to treat yourself as well, as good as you would treat another person that you care about. And that is important, because if you don't have integrity in that area and how you treat yourself, it will eventually kill you. It'll eventually wear you down, and it will eventually make you unable to be there for the people that you do care for, who you would want to protect from that kind of treatment. And we really are going to be either our best friend or our worst enemy. We decide all the time.
So choose wisely. Thank you for joining us where the heart is heard.
Partnership Vision Ministries. Stay driven by love,
so you can wreck all the fear. You can check us out on Instagram at Partnership Vision Ministries,
or on Facebook on Partnership Vision Ministries page,
and even Twitter at PVisionM. Y'all come back now, you hear?